The rain was falling hard that night. The streets of the city were wet, and neon lights reflected on the ground like broken stars. Daniel walked fast with his coat pulled tight. He had only one place in mind, the alien shelter. The shelter was not like a normal orphanage. It was a place where children from other worlds, other planets, were kept. Some were brought after wars, some were abandoned, some were simply lost in the vast universe. Daniel had visited the shelter once before, but tonight something felt different. The moment he stepped inside, a smell of metal and cleaning chemicals filled his nose. The hall was large, with cages made of glass, each one holding an alien child. Some children looked like humans with small changes. Glowing eyes, different skin colors, or extra arms. Others looked more strange, with wings, scales, or soft light around their bodies. Most of them played, laughed, or stared back at him with curious eyes. But one child was different. In the far corner, away from the others, sat a small alien girl. She was thin, her skin pale with a soft silver glow. Her big dark eyes looked empty, and she hugged her knees close, while other children called for attention. She sat silent. Daniel's steps slowed. He could not stop looking at her. Something about her sadness pulled him like gravity. He asked the shelter worker, "Why is she alone?" The worker frowned and lowered his voice. "That one, sir. You don't want her. No one does. She's strange. She doesn't talk much, doesn't smile. And there are stories. Some say she is cursed. Things break around her. Lights go out. Sometimes she whispers in the night. Families tried to take her before, but they all returned her. Nobody keeps her long." Daniel felt his chest tighten. He looked at the girl again. Her eyes lifted slowly to meet his, and in that short moment, he saw not a curse, but deep pain, a sadness heavier than the whole universe. Why would they return? Her? Daniel asked. "She makes people feel cold, uncomfortable," the worker said, shaking his head. "It's better to pick someone else. Look around. So many healthy choices." But Daniel did not move. He could not ignore the girl. His heart whispered, "If I walk away now, she will always be alone." He walked closer to her glass room. She looked at him without fear, without hope, just empty eyes. He crouched down and spoke softly. "What's your name?" She whispered, almost too quiet to hear. "Lyra." Her voice was like a broken instrument, soft but filled with sorrow. Daniel smiled gently. "Lyra, that's a beautiful name." The worker behind him sighed. "Sir, please, think carefully. She is not like the others. I'll take her," Daniel said, his voice firm. The worker froze. "What? You want her?" "Yes," Daniel nodded, still watching the girl. "She doesn't need rejection. She needs a home." Papers were rushed, signatures signed. The worker shook his head the whole time, warning Daniel again and again. "You'll regret this. She'll bring trouble." But Daniel ignored it. His heart had already chosen. When the last paper was signed, the glass door opened. Lyra stepped out slowly. Her bare feet touched the cold floor. She did not run. She did not hug him. She simply walked beside him, silent like a shadow. Outside, the rain had softened. Daniel opened his umbrella. He held it above both of them. She looked up for the first time, water dripping from her silver hair. Her empty eyes blinked. Daniel smiled. "Don't worry, Lyra. You're safe now." For a second, just a second, something flickered in her eyes. Not a smile, not joy, but a spark, like the first light of dawn. They walked together through the wet streets, the city noise around them, but inside that small umbrella, it felt like another world. Strangers who passed looked at Lyra with unease. Some whispered, "That's the cursed girl from the shelter." Others stepped aside, but Daniel kept walking, his hand gently holding her small shoulder. He whispered, "They don't matter. What matters is you're not alone anymore." That night, as they reached Daniel's home, Lyra stood at the door quietly, her eyes scanning the small house. Daniel opened the door wide. The smell of warm food filled the air. He said, "This is your home now, Lyra." She stepped inside slowly, her steps soft, her eyes moving across the walls, the table, the couch, as if she had never seen such things before. Daniel closed the door. He felt a strange calm, but also a hidden fear. He knew deep down this was not a normal choice, not a normal adoption. Something about Lyra was different. As the rain faded outside, Daniel watched her sit quietly in the corner of the room, hugging her knees again, the same sadness around her. He whispered to himself, "Who are you really, Lyra?" And in that silent room, the question hung heavy in the air, like a shadow waiting to move. The night after Lyra arrived was quiet, too quiet. Daniel lay in his bed but could not sleep. The storm had ended, yet he felt a storm inside his mind. His ears kept waiting for sounds from the small room down the hall, the room where Lyra now slept. He finally closed his eyes. But at midnight, a faint sound woke him. It was not footsteps, not the creak of a door. It was something else, a soft whisper, like a voice carried through water. He sat up, his heart beating fast. He listened, and yes, there it was again, a whisper. Words in a language he had never heard before, smooth and strange, almost like a song. He stood and walked slowly to her door. He pressed his ear against the wood. Inside, Lyra whispered in her alien tongue. The words rose and fell like waves. Daniel felt his skin turn cold. He could not understand the meaning, but he felt emotion in it. Sadness, anger, something heavy. Suddenly, the light in the hallway flickered, then went out. The whole house sank into darkness. Daniel stepped back, fear crawling in his chest. Then silence. The whisper stopped. The house returned to stillness. He stood frozen, wondering, is she dreaming? Or calling to someone far away? He did not enter. He returned slowly to his bed, but sleep never came again. The next morning, the house seemed normal. The lights worked. The air was calm. Daniel made breakfast, eggs and bread. He placed a plate for Lyra. She came quietly, sat down, and stared at the food. She picked up a piece of bread, took a small bite, but never spoke. Daniel tried. "Did you sleep well, Lyra?" She nodded once, eyes still down. He asked gently, "You were whispering last night. Do you remember?" Her eyes lifted slowly, then dropped again. She said nothing, only chewed her bread with quiet care. Daniel sighed. He decided not to push. But deep inside, he knew this girl carried secrets, secrets heavy enough to crush a world. Later that day, Daniel took her outside. The sky was clear, the sun soft. Neighbors noticed. They watched with strange looks. One woman whispered, "He brought her home." "The cursed one," another man muttered. "Poor fool, he'll regret it." Daniel heard but ignored them. Lyra walked beside him, her small steps light, her eyes never meeting anyone else's. Children playing nearby stopped their game and stared. One boy shouted, "Don't go near her. She's bad luck." Lyra froze, her hands trembling. Daniel quickly placed his arm around her. "Ignore them, Lyra. People fear what they don't understand." She looked at him with those deep, empty eyes and whispered, "They're right to fear." Daniel's heart skipped. He bent closer. "Why do you say that?" But she shook her head and fell silent, refusing to explain. That night, the strange things grew. Daniel was reading in the living room when the lights flickered again. The TV turned on by itself, showing only static. He felt a cold wind pass. Every window was closed. He rushed to Lyra's room. She was sitting on her bed, wide awake, her eyes glowing faint silver in the darkness. She looked at him and whispered, "I try to stop it, but it follows me." Daniel froze. "What follows you, Lyra?" She hugged her knees, her voice small. "The shadows," before he could ask more. The window glass cracked loudly, a thin line spreading across it. Daniel jumped, his heart racing, but Lyra just buried her face in her arms, as if this was normal, as if she had lived with it all her life. The next morning, Daniel called the shelter worker. He demanded answers. "Why didn't you tell me everything?" "Strange things are happening in my house." The worker's voice came cold through the phone. "We warned you, sir. We told you she was different. We told you to stay away. You made your choice. Now you carry it." And he ended the call. Daniel clenched his fists. He would not abandon her, not like everyone else. He sat with Lyra that evening. He said firmly, "Listen to me, Lyra. You are safe here. I don't care what shadows follow you. I don't care what others say. This is your home now." For the first time, her eyes watered, small tears rolling down her pale cheeks. She whispered, "They always find me. They never stop." Daniel leaned closer. Who are they?" But she shook her head, her lips sealed. Later that night, Daniel woke to a sound outside. A low hum, like engines in the sky. He rushed to the window. He saw faint lights moving above the city, too slow to be planes, too silent to be helicopters. He stared, his mind racing. Are they searching for her? He turned back. Lyra was standing in the doorway, her small figure framed by the shadows. She whispered, "They're coming." Daniel's blood turned cold. "Who is coming, Lyra?" Her eyes glowed faintly, and in that fragile voice she said, "The hunters." The house went silent. The hum in the sky faded, but Daniel knew this was only the beginning, and for the first time he wondered if bringing her home had not saved her, but had brought danger directly to his door. The morning after the strange lights in the sky, Daniel felt restless. He sat at the table, his hands wrapped around a cup of coffee, but his eyes kept drifting to the small hallway where Lyra's room was. Lyra walked out quietly, her hair messy, her steps soft. She sat down and picked up a piece of bread. She did not say good morning. She never did. She just ate in silence. Daniel tried to act normal, but inside, questions screamed in his head. Who are these hunters? Why are they searching for her? What is she hiding? He finally said, "Lyra, if there's danger, you need to tell me. I can't protect you if I don't understand." She looked at him, her dark eyes heavy with secrets. She whispered, "You can't protect me. No one can." Daniel leaned forward. "Try me." But she said nothing more, only turned her gaze down to the table. The day passed with heavy silence. Daniel took her for a walk again, but this time the neighbors avoided them completely. Doors closed, curtains moved, whispers followed. One man shouted from across the street, "Keep that cursed thing away from us." Daniel's jaw tightened, his fists clenched, but before he could respond, Lyra tugged his sleeve, her voice soft. "Please, don't." He looked down at her, and for the first time, he saw not just sadness, but fear. That night, everything changed. Daniel was fixing something in the garage when the accident happened. A heavy metal shelf, stacked with tools and boxes, suddenly gave way. It crashed forward with a deafening sound. Daniel had no time to move. He knew the weight would crush him, but it never did. He opened his eyes and saw the impossible. The entire shelf had stopped in midair, frozen, the boxes floating, the tools suspended like they hung in water, and in front of him stood Lyra, her small hands raised, her eyes glowing with bright silver light. Her lips trembled, her breath fast. She whispered in that strange alien language, words that vibrated in the air like electricity. The metal groaned, then slowly lifted back into place, piece by piece, until the shelf stood again as if nothing had happened. Daniel's mouth went dry. He could not speak. Lyra's glowing eyes dimmed. She swayed and fell to her knees, breathing hard. He rushed to her. "Lyra, what did you just do?" She shook her head, her voice weak. I didn't want you to get hurt. Daniel stared at her, his mind spinning. You? You stopped it. You have power. Real power. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, I told you. They fear. Me. They fear what I can do. That's why they call me cursed. Daniel placed his hands on her shoulders. No, you're not cursed. You saved me, Lyra. You're extraordinary. But she pulled away, whispering, extraordinary things bring hunters. That night Daniel could not rest. He replayed the moment over and over in his mind. The sight of heavy steel floating like feathers, the glow in Lyra's eyes, the strange language she spoke, and the way she collapsed after. She was powerful, but fragile too, as he thought. The street outside grew noisy, a sound of footsteps and distant voices. He moved to the window and saw shadows moving at the corner. Not neighbors, not police, something else. The voices were not human, low and harsh, speaking in a language he did not know. He squinted and caught a glimpse of tall figures dressed in black armor, their helmets glowing with faint red lights. Hunters. He turned quickly, but Lyra was already there, standing in the hallway, her eyes wide, her lips trembling. She whispered, they found me. Daniel's heart pounded. He whispered back, how? How did they find you so fast? Her small voice carried the weight of truth. Because I used it. When I use my power, they feel it. No matter where I am, they feel it across the stars. Daniel's mind raced. The accident in the garage, the glowing eyes, the floating shelf. It had been enough. Enough to send a signal across the universe. The footsteps outside grew closer. The shadows moved past his windows, red lights scanning, searching. Daniel grabbed Lyra's hand. We can't. Stay here. Come on. They moved to the back door, slipping into the cold night. The air was heavy, the city too quiet. Every corner seemed to hold danger. Lyra whispered, they won't stop. They will never stop. Daniel whispered back. Then let them come, but they won't take you. I promise. She looked at him, tears in her glowing eyes. You'll get hurt, like everyone else who tried. Daniel stopped. He knelt down, his face close to hers, his voice steady. Listen. To me, Lyra, I don't care if they're hunters. I don't care if they're monsters. I don't care what powers you have. You're my daughter now, and I will never give you up. Her lip trembled. For the first time since he met her, her empty sadness cracked. A single small smile appeared, weak but real. But the moment passed. Quickly, a red beam of light scanned across the alley where they hid. Daniel pulled her against the wall. Holding his breath, the beam moved on. The hunters' voices echoed. They were close, too close. Lyra whispered in her alien tongue, a word Daniel could not understand. But the air around them shifted. Shadows deepened. The sound of their breathing faded. It felt as if they had been wrapped in a blanket of silence. The hunters passed by without seeing them. Daniel's eyes widened. You? You hid us. Lyra nodded weakly. But only for a moment. I can't hold it long. Daniel's mind burned with fear and determination. If she could do this at her age, what else was she capable of? What would the hunters do if they captured her? The red lights moved farther away. But Daniel knew this was only the beginning. Tonight they had escaped, but tomorrow the hunt would grow. He held Lyra close, whispering, we'll find a way, Lyra. We'll fight them. Together, she whispered back, her voice shaking. Together. And above them, high in the sky, hidden in the clouds, another light flickered, not from Earth, but from space. More hunters were coming. Drawn by the spark she had released, the storm was just beginning. The city looked the same in the morning, but Daniel knew better. The world had changed. Last night proved it. The hunters were real, they were here, and they were searching. Lyra sat at the table with her small hands folded. She looked calm, too. Calm, as if she had seen this all before. Daniel poured her some milk, but his own hands shook. He kept glancing at the window, expecting shadows to move. Finally, he spoke. Lyra, these hunters, who are they? Why are they after you? She lifted her eyes slowly, her voice soft. They are soldiers of the Black Dominion. They destroyed my people. They burn every world they touch. I am the last child of my kind. Daniel felt his chest tighten. The words carried a weight he could not measure. The last? You mean everyone else is gone? Lyra nodded, tears shimmering but never falling. They fear what I might become. They fear the power of my people. If I live, one day I may rise, and they do not want that. Silence filled the room. Daniel stared at her, this fragile, sad girl who carried the ashes of a whole civilization, a whole race, he whispered. And now they're here in my city because of you. Her voice shook. Yes, but you don't have to stay. You can give me back. You can survive without me. Daniel leaned forward, his voice firm. Stop. Don't ever say that again. I chose you, Lyra, and I will not abandon you. For the first time, her lip trembled, as if she wanted to believe him, but fear kept her chained. That evening, the danger showed itself more openly. Daniel was returning home from the store, his bag heavy with supplies. He noticed the street, too. Quiet, no children playing, no neighbors chatting. Houses closed tight, and he saw them. 2 tall figures stood at the far corner, dressed in black armor that gleamed under the streetlight. Their helmets glowed faint red. No human faces, no human warmth. They scanned the street with strange devices. Daniel froze, his heart hammering. He turned down another street, pretending to be normal, but one of the hunters tilted its head. As if it smelled something, Daniel walked faster. By the time he reached his house, sweat covered his forehead. Lyra was waiting at the door. Her eyes wide, she whispered, I felt them. Daniel pulled her inside quickly, locking every bolt. He spoke fast. They're here. On the street, they're watching. They're getting closer. Lyra's small hands shook. They won't stop. They always find me. That night, the hunters came closer. Daniel saw them from the window. There. Red lights sweeping across the houses, scanning, searching. His neighbors peeked out and shut their curtains quickly, fear spreading like a disease. One brave neighbor knocked on his door in panic. Daniel, listen. Return her before they destroy us all. We don't want trouble. Daniel's face hardened. She's not leaving. The neighbor's face twisted with anger. Then you'll doom us all. He spat before storming away. Lyra had heard every word. She sat on the floor, hugging her knees, whispering, It's true. I bring only doom. Daniel knelt beside her, his voice steady. No, Lyra, you bring hope, and that's why they fear you. But even as he said it, the sound outside grew louder. A low hum, engines, mechanical steps. The hunters were no longer hiding. They were marching. Midnight came, and with it, a knock on the door, slow, heavy, the sound of iron against wood. Daniel's breath caught. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly with fear. He whispered, Stay behind. The knock came again, louder, the whole door shook. Then a voice, deep and metallic, speaking broken human words. Give the child, give her, or suffer. Daniel's hands tightened on the metal pipe he had grabbed from the garage. His mind screamed at him to open the door, to give them what they wanted. But his heart refused. I said she stays with me, Daniel shouted back, his voice trembling. But strong silence, and the sound of metal scraping. The hunters began to cut through the door. Sparks flying, the wood cracking. Lyra gasped, her hands glowing faint silver. Daniel looked at her. No, don't. You'll reveal more of your power. Tears filled her eyes. If I don't, they'll take you. They'll kill you. The door burst inward with a crash. 2 hunters stepped inside, their red lights scanning, their weapons glowing with energy. They moved with cold precision. Daniel swung his metal pipe, hitting one in the chest. The sound rang like hitting stone. The hunter barely moved. It backhanded him with brutal force, sending him crashing against the wall. Pain shot through his body. Lyra screamed, her eyes blazing silver. The air shook. The walls groaned. Every light shattered. The hunters froze for a second, their armor sparking. Daniel struggled to his feet, blood on his lips. He shouted, "Run, Lyra, go!" But Lyra did not run. She raised her hands, her voice chanting in her alien tongue. The room trembled. Furniture lifted into the air. The hunters staggered, their weapons buzzing and failing. One hunter tried to fire, but the blast curved away. Smashing into the ceiling, plaster rained down. Lyra screamed louder, the silver glow expanding, pushing the hunters back. Daniel could only watch, his heart filled with awe and terror. She was not just a child. She was a storm in the shape of a girl. The hunters fought, but their armor cracked. Sparks flew, their red lights dimmed. With one final cry, Lyra unleashed a wave of force that sent them crashing through the broken door, smashing into the street. Outside, their bodies twisted, their armor burned. Silence fell, the house shaking, dust in the air. Lyra collapsed to the floor, her glow fading, her breath ragged. Daniel crawled to her, pulling her into his arms. "Lyra, Lyra, stay with me." Her voice was weak. I didn't want them to take you." Daniel held her close, his voice breaking. "You saved me. You saved us." But outside, more shadows moved, more hunters stepping from the dark, their red lights glowing like eyes of demons. The battle was not over. It had just begun. Daniel looked out through the broken doorway, his heart pounding. The street now filled with hunters, dozens of them, their weapons humming. And above, in the clouds, a massive shape stirred, the silhouette of a ship, watching, waiting. Daniel whispered to himself, "God help us. What have I brought into my home?" The night was no longer silent. The broken street outside Daniel's house burned with red light, shadows of armored. Hunters moved across the walls, their voices deep and metallic, their weapons glowing. They surrounded the home like wolves circling prey. Inside, Daniel held Lyra close, her small body weak in his arms, her eyes half closed, the silver glow gone. She had used too much. He felt her trembling, her breath shallow. She whispered, "More are coming." Daniel's heart raced. He looked. Around the ruined house, shattered glass, broken wood, walls cracked from the power she released. He knew the truth. They could not stay here. Not another second. He pulled her closer, whispering fiercely, "I won't let them take you, do you? Hear me? I won't let them." Lyra's eyes opened slightly, her voice fragile. "You can't fight them. Daniel, they'll kill you. You should let me go." His voice shook with anger and love. "Never, never say that again. You're mine now, Lyra. They'll have to go through me." But deep inside, fear burned. How could one man protect a child from an army? How could he fight against machines built for war? Outside, the hunters began to speak, their deep voices echoing through strange devices. "Give the child, give her, and you live, refuse, and all die." The words rolled through the night. Neighbors peeked from windows, trembling, some already packing to flee. The whole street knew this was no normal fight. Daniel stood. He looked at the broken door, his hands shaking, sweat dripping. He had no weapons, no plan, only his will. He whispered to himself, "What do I do now?" He carried Lyra to the basement. Hiding her behind shelves and boxes, she looked at him with fear. "Don't go," she whispered. "If you go out there, they'll kill you." He brushed her hair gently, his voice soft. "Sometimes, to protect family, a man has to stand even if he knows he will fall." Lyra grabbed his hand weakly. "You're not my family. You're just a man who felt pity." Daniel's heart twisted. He leaned down, his voice steady but broken. "No, Lyra, I'm not here out of pity. I chose you. I signed my name for you. I opened my door to you. You're my daughter, whether you believe it or not." Her lips trembled, her dark eyes filling with tears. She whispered, "No one ever called me that before." Daniel kissed her forehead. "Then I'll be the first." He stood, turning toward the stairs, but her weak voice stopped him. "If you fight, you'll die." Daniel glanced back, his eyes hard. "Then I'll die as a father." He walked up into the broken living room, the hum of Hunter's weapons growing louder. His heart hammered, sweat drenched his shirt, but his fists clenched with iron resolve. Door burst wider. 3 hunters stepped in, tall, black-armored, red eyes glowing. One raised its weapon, aiming straight at his chest. Daniel shouted, "Stop! You want her, don't you? Then listen to me." The hunters froze for a moment, their glowing eyes staring, their voices like metal grinding. "Give the child, and you will be spared." Daniel shook his head. "No, I won't give her. She's not cursed. She's not your prisoner. She's mine now, and I'll protect her until my last breath." The hunters tilted their heads, silent, and one spoke. "You are weak, human. Your bones will break. Your skin will burn. Why protect what is doomed?" Daniel stepped forward, his voice rising. "Because she's not doomed, because she matters, because her life means more than yours, more than mine, more than anything you could destroy." The hunters raised their weapons, energy humming, but before they could fire, the ground shook. From outside came a deep roar, engines in the sky. Daniel rushed to the window. His blood turned cold. Above the city, cutting through the clouds, a massive black ship descended, its size dwarfing every building, its lights piercing the darkness. It was a fortress, a monster. The Black Dominion had come. The neighbors screamed, people ran, car alarms blared. The entire city panicked. Inside the house, Lyra cried out, her voice echoing from the basement. "Daniel!" He ran back down, finding her glowing again, weak but trying to rise, her eyes blazing silver. "They brought the mothership. They won't stop. They will destroy everything to take me." Daniel knelt beside her, gripping her hands, his voice desperate. "Then we run, Lyra. We don't stop running, no matter what." She shook her head, tears shining. "Where can we run?" "They will chase, across oceans, across stars. There is no escape." Daniel's jaw tightened, his eyes fierce. "Then we make a stand, not just for you, not just for me, but for everyone, if they want to. They'll have to burn the world, and I won't make it easy." Lyra stared at him, her small lips trembling. "Why, Daniel? Why do this for me?" He squeezed her hand. "Because you're my daughter, and that means I'll fight for you until I have nothing left." Her tears spilled, glowing under the dim light. She whispered, "Then I'll fight too." The house shook again, dust falling from the ceiling, the mothership's shadow swallowing the street. Outside, the hunters marched, their voices chanting in unison, calling for the child, demanding her surrender. Daniel looked around the basement, his mind racing. He found old tools, sharp metal, wires, batteries, junk that might become traps. He began working fast, his hands moving with desperate energy. Lyra watched, her small body trembling. Finally, Daniel set the last trap. Sweat dripping, his heart racing, he stood and faced her. "Whatever happens, remember this: you are not cursed. You are chosen. And they fear you because of that." Lyra's glowing eyes locked on him, and for the first time, she smiled. A real smile. Small but powerful outside, the hunters roared. The door upstairs shattered. Footsteps thundered. The house filled with red light. Daniel whispered, "Here they come." He grabbed a broken metal pipe. Standing tall at the bottom of the stairs, Lyra behind him, the hunters stormed in, their red eyes burning, weapons raised. Daniel felt fear, yes, but also fire, and in that moment, he was no longer just a man. He was a father who had made his choice. He would fight, he would bleed, He would fall if he must, but he would never let them take her. And as the hunters charged, Lyra's glow began to rise again, silver light spreading through the basement, mixing with Daniel's unbreakable will. Together, they faced the storm. The basement shook as the hunters stormed down the stairs. There, metal boots crashing like thunder, red lights cutting through the dark, Daniel raised his broken pipe. His hands trembling, but his eyes full of fire, Lyra stood behind him, her glow flickering, weak but rising. The first hunter charged, its weapon humming with deadly energy. Daniel swung hard, the pipe smashing against its helmet. Sparks flew. The hunter staggered, but it did not fall. Its arm lashed out, striking Daniel across the chest. Pain exploded, but he held his ground. Lyra cried out, her hands glowing silver. She whispered in her alien tongue. The hunter froze mid-strike, its weapon shaking in the air, its armor sparking. Daniel gasped at the sight. Her power crackled like lightning, wrapping around the hunter, twisting its body. Then, with a flash, it was hurled backward into the wall, metal cracking, but more came. 3 hunters at once, their voices booming. Give the child, surrender, surrender. Daniel swung again, his pipe clashing against their weapons, sparks lighting the basement. The hunters pushed forward, stronger, faster, their machines built for war. Daniel was only a man, his arms burned with pain, his breath heavy, but he refused to step back. Lyra screamed, the glow in her eyes brighter. Objects in the basement lifted, boxes, shelves. Even the concrete dust rose into the air with a wave of her small hand. The storm of objects smashed into the hunters, knocking 2 of them down, their armor dented, their red lights flickering. But every time she used her power, her body weakened. Daniel saw it, her knees shaking, her lips pale. He shouted, Lyra, stop! You're killing yourself. She shook her head fiercely. If I stop, they take you. The house above cracked. Pieces of the ceiling fell. The motherships. Shadow swallowed the street, engines roaring like thunder. Neighbors screamed and fled into the night. Hunters filled the street, dozens now, their red lights glowing through the smoke. Daniel grabbed Lyra's hand, pulling her up the stairs. We can't stay here. We need to move. They burst into the street, the night lit with fire and panic. Hunters marched from every direction, their weapons raised, their voices like drums of war. Daniel's heart pounded. He pulled Lyra behind an overturned car. Blasts of red energy lit the sky. One beam struck the road, exploding concrete, throwing him off balance. Lyra raised her hand again. Silver energy surged. A barrier formed around them. The blasts hit but bent away, sparks scattering. Daniel stared in awe. You shielded us. Lyra trembled, sweat dripping down her pale skin. I can't hold it long. Daniel scanned the street, hunters closing in, the mothership's lights above sweeping like eyes. He saw no way out, no safe path, only walls of enemies. The hunters spoke as one, their deep voices vibrating the air. The child belongs to the Dominion. Surrender, human. Surrender. Daniel stood, fury burning. She belongs to no one. Not you, not your Dominion. She's my daughter. He grabbed a broken piece of metal from the ground, charging at the nearest hunter with wild rage. His strike hit the weapon. Knocking it aside, he shoved with all his strength. Shouting like a man who refused to break, Lyra screamed again, her glow blazing, her voice chanting in her alien tongue. The air trembled. Hunters staggered back as silver light exploded outward. A wave of force hurled them across the street, smashing them into walls, breaking glass, shattering cars, but the blast drained her. Lyra collapsed to her knees, gasping, her glow flickering out like a dying star. Daniel dropped beside her, holding her shoulders. Stay with me, Lyra. Please stay with me, she whispered weakly. I can't fight much more. Daniel's chest tightened. He looked at the army still standing, more hunters marching, dozens becoming hundreds, and the massive ship lowering, its shadow crushing the city. The hunters raised their weapons again. All aimed at them. The leader stepped forward, taller, darker, its voice deeper. "You are nothing, human. Surrender or burn with your world." Daniel rose to his feet, his arms shaking, his pipe bent and broken, but he stood tall. "Then burn." "Me, but you'll never take her." The leader tilted its head, its red eyes glowing. "Why protect her?" "She is not of your blood. She is not your kind." Daniel's voice thundered with pure fire. "Because she's mine now, because she is my daughter, and because you'll never understand love." For the first time, silence fell across the hunters. A strange pause, then the leader raised its weapon. The order clear, Lyra looked up, her eyes full of tears. "Daniel, they will kill you," Daniel whispered. "Then let them. But not while you breathe." The hunters fired. Red beams filled the air. Lyra screamed, her glow erupting one last time. The ground cracked, the air shattered, silver light clashed with red fire. The night turned into chaos. Daniel shielded her with his body, heat burning his back, pain screaming, but he held her close, refusing to let go. Then, the impossible happened. The silver light did not just shield them, it grew, spreading across the street, swallowing the hunters, their weapons failing, their armor breaking, their red eyes flickering out one by one. The wave of power lifted them, hurled them into the night like broken dolls. The mothership above groaned, struck by the silver force. Its massive lights dimmed for a moment. Engines flickering, the ship trembled as if it had felt fear. Lyra collapsed completely, the glow gone, unconscious in Daniel's arms. But her last power had saved them. At least for now. Daniel fell to his knees, holding her close, gasping, his body burned, his vision blurred. Around him the street was silent. Hunters destroyed, cars broken, buildings shattered, neighbors staring from the shadows in awe and fear. Daniel whispered, his voice hoarse, "You did it, Lyra. You saved us." But above, the mothership still hovered, its engines slowly growing. Louder again. The pause was over. The storm had only slowed, not ended. Daniel looked up at the giant shadow in the sky, his teeth clenched, his eyes full of fire. "Come then, come for her. I'll fight you all. I'll fight until my last breath." And in the distance, beyond the stars, more lights stirred, more ships moving, drawn by the spark that had awakened. The war for Lyra had only just begun. The city burned under the shadow of the mothership, its lights glowing like the eyes of a monster in the sky. The hunters on the ground had been destroyed by Lyra's last surge of power. But Daniel knew it was not over, not even close. He held her in his arms, her small body limp, her glow gone. She was unconscious, her breath weak, but steady around them. The street was silent, except for the sound of fire crackling and sirens in the distance. Neighbors watched from broken windows, their faces pale with fear. Some whispered prayers, some cursed Daniel for bringing this to their homes. Daniel ignored them all. His world was the girl in his arms. He whispered into her silver hair, "Stay with me, Lyra. Please stay with me." Above, the mothership shifted. A deep hum rattled the buildings, its massive hull glowing with strange symbols. Then a new sound filled the air, low and chilling, like a voice stretched across the sky. A voice not human, not machine, something older. "Child of the fallen. Star, we have come for you. Surrender, and the human world may survive. Resist, and all will burn." The words boomed across the city, rattling windows, echoing in every heart. People screamed, cars fled, the whole city panicked. Daniel stood shakily, his arms tight around Lyra. He shouted at the sky, "She's not yours. She's not anyone's. She's mine." The voice laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "Human, You cannot protect what you do not understand. She carries the spark that destroyed empires. You are dust before the storm. Daniel's fists clenched, his throat raw. And I'll be dust that stands. In your way, the mothership's underside began to glow. A massive cannon charging with energy. The ground vibrated, buildings cracked, the air itself shook. Daniel's heart thundered. He looked at Lyra, her eyes still closed, too weak to rise, too weak to fight again. He thought, if this beam fires, the whole city will die. Suddenly, Lyra stirred. Her eyelids fluttered. She whispered, "Daniel." His eyes filled with tears. "I'm here, Lyra. I've got you." Her voice was soft but certain. "I saw it in my dream. The Dominion doesn't just want me. They fear me. They fear what I will become." Daniel's heart raced. "Then we show them you're not." Afraid, Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. Weak but returning, she whispered, "I can stop the cannon. But if I do, they will all see me. Not just this ship, not just this army, the entire Dominion, across the stars, they will know I live." Daniel froze, his breath heavy. He knew the choice. She could hide, stay small, stay silent, or she could rise, but rising would paint a target on her back so large that no world would ever be safe. Her small hands gripped his shirt, her eyes shining. "What should I do?" Daniel looked at her, really looked. The saddest girl he had ever seen, now glowing with the faint light of something greater. He whispered, "You do what you feel is right, because whatever happens, you won't face it alone." She closed her eyes, her breath steady. Then she stood slowly, weak but unbroken, silver light spreading from her body, her hair flowing as if caught in a wind only she could feel, her eyes blazing brighter than ever before. The street around them lit with silver fire. Shadows vanished. The air hummed with power. Daniel shielded his face, but his heart swelled with awe. Lyra lifted her hands. The mothership's cannon fired. A colossal beam of red energy shot toward the city. The ground shook, glass shattered, but Lyra raised her small hands higher. Her silver light clashed with the red beam. The sky exploded with power. The clash lit the night like a second sun. Neighbors screamed. Cars flipped from the shockwave. Daniel fell to his knees, his eyes burning from the brightness, but he forced himself to look. Lyra stood in the middle of the storm, her small frame unbending, her voice chanting in her alien tongue. The silver beam grew stronger, pushing back. The red, inch by inch, her body shook. Blood ran from her nose, but she did not fall. Daniel shouted, his voice hoarse, "You can do it, Lyra. Push, push." With a final cry, Lyra's light erupted. The silver beam swallowed the red, shooting back into the mothership. The massive vessel groaned, its armor cracking, explosions ripping across its hull, fire bursting from its engines. The giant ship reeled backward, climbing into the sky. The city shook as the mothership pulled away. Wounded but not destroyed, its voice thundered one last time. "This is not the end, child. This is only the beginning. The Dominion will never stop." Then the colossal ship vanished into the clouds, leaving only silence and smoke. Lyra collapsed. Again, Daniel caught her before she hit the ground, holding her tight, tears running down his face. "You did it. You saved everyone." Her voice was faint. "Did I? Or did I just bring more hunters?" Daniel pressed his forehead against hers. "Maybe both, but now they know you're not alone. You have me. You'll always have me." For the first time, she smiled fully, her eyes wet but shining. "Father," she whispered. The word broke Daniel's heart and healed it at the same time. He hugged her tightly, whispering, "Daughter." Sirens wailed in the distance. Military trucks roared into the street. Human soldiers pouring out, their weapons raised. They looked at the destruction, at the broken hunters, at the glowing child in Daniel's arms. One soldier shouted, "Sir, step away from the alien. She's dangerous." Daniel stood firm, his body blocking Lyra, his voice hard. "No, she's not dangerous. She's hope. And if you want her, you'll have to go through me too." The soldiers hesitated. The crowd whispered. Some called her a savior. Others called her a monster. The city itself was torn between fear and awe. But before the soldiers could act, the sky rumbled again. Far above the clouds, countless lights appeared, stars moving where no stars should move. Daniel's blood ran cold. Lyra's eyes widened. A fleet enormous, stretching across the heavens. Ships of the Black Dominion. Hundreds, maybe thousands, they were coming. The voice from the sky returned, colder, darker. "The child has awakened. The hunt has only begun." Daniel held Lyra close, whispering into her hair. "Whatever comes, we'll face it, together." Lyra's silver eyes glowed, her voice soft, but fierce. Together. The camera of the night zoomed outward, the city in ruins, the sky filled with fire and warships, a father and daughter standing alone at the center of it all. Small yet unbroken, the saddest alien girl was no longer alone, but the universe had taken notice, and what came next would change everything.